What is up? Welcome to the NFL Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Spread Astaire. Very excited for today's show, bringing in an old friend. We've done content
Yeah,
before, but it's been a little while. So excited to talk with you, Kyle, the DFS Bachelor. How are things with you?
my man, this is exciting. And I like the role reversal here. It's a lot less pressure on me. I just get to sit here and look old while you handle all the dirty work. I love that. And it has been a while, right? But here it is, football season, right? You start to get like the hair on my arms are standing up right here. It's been a long summer, a lot of baseball, way too much basketball going way too far into the summer. Football time is here, and it's going to be a unique season, right? We're going to talk about probably one of the more well-rounded teams in the league here shortly in this division. Not a lot of well-rounded teams, right? A lot of bad defenses, a lot of moving parts, some interesting things going on. But what there hasn't been this preseason, I think, is nice. We haven't seen these major injuries, right? So
Right.
teams are really starting to hold them back. So that's kind of nice heading into the season. I'm excited, of course. Happy to be here and happy to be with the Run Pure Sport. I love all, AP, all the guys at Run Pure Sports. Love all those guys a lot, known them for a long time. So happy to be here.
Yeah, and you're pretty good at the DFS too, so definitely a great guest to have on. Today we probably won't touch on a lot of that, but if I can, wrangle you back during the season, I'd
Absolutely.
love to get
Absolutely.
get your insights there. We'll be doing shows on Monday and then maybe Friday, and we can go over some of the pricings because I think it's going to be fun this year, and I really can't wait. And with the emergence of best ball and all the different ways to play daily
Yeah.
fantasy, no longer just stuck to those season long leagues.
Yeah.
I think it's so much better because there's nothing worse, right? Than you play with all your buddies and you pick your
Yep.
first two running backs get hurt.
Oh,
It's like,
exactly. And I'm in a fantasy league with Papelbon this year, so I know he's just going to be talking smack all year long. So I'm just waiting for that running back in the running back market. When you do some mock drafts,
yeah.
that running back market's tough this year. It's real tough.
And things are changing. I mean, people are drafting these wide receivers higher now, right? It used to be like the first 12 picks for running backs, and now
Yeah.
I think after the top couple, you have to start considering guys like Jefferson and Cooper Cup and guys like that. So yeah, I don't know why. Why is my I can't find these team win totals? Where are my team win totals?
Oh,
Here we go.
yeah.
Uh, the first team we'll
I think
talk
I
about.
think the advent of the PPR leagues too.
Yeah,
Before it was a lot of standard scoring, but as more and more leagues go to these bonuses, right, for receiving 1 point for every reception, receivers just become exponentially more valuable, right?
oh, I completely agree with you. And it kind of pisses me off because the idea that like Austin Eckler is more valuable than Derrick Henry to me is like
Yeah,
just like because I'm just like
yeah,
you got to be kidding me. But
yeah.
if you're playing in a PPR league, that's the way it goes. Oh, we got some chat, man. Richie
Love
Smalls
that.
already hit the like button. Thank you, Richie. The rest of you guys, please do that. Helps us out a lot. DJ's in the chat. Minus 150 is not for me. Says good afternoon. Love basketball. Basketball. Yeah, I'm getting more into it this year. Last year I
Yeah,
didn't do it as much, and now I'm understanding really the beauty of it, and especially
yeah.
for low maintenance when we're really busy during the season.
It's scary at the end of the year too. I had a great team last year, and I was like, man, I got a real shot. And then it was just like boom, 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 injury, and there's nothing you can do. You
Yeah,
can't become a
yeah,
free agent, so you
yeah,
sit there like, oh, I'm going into the finals with 7 players. So
yeah. So
it's a little
it's
tough.
fun though. It's fun.
Yeah,
So I definitely like that. Let's talk about the defending champions here. The Los Angeles Rams.
yeah,
Bet Online has their win total set at 10.5. And one of the great things I've seen here, it's not juiced ridiculously to one side. Now they are kind of being. I don't like this minus 115 on both sides. Come on, guys, take a
yeah,
stand, right? I mean, that's telling me they're a little afraid on some of these win totals. But regardless, if you want to make that wager, that's pretty much the way that some of these markets are going. But hey, what can you say about this team? They ran pretty good. I felt in the way that their playoff run worked out for them last year, kind of avoiding having to go to Green Bay because that could have been a situation that was really tough for them. Having to play in the cold. They got to play, all their games in warm weather. And then, of course, the finals or the conference finals against San Francisco. But hey, they got it done. Stafford got the monkey off his back. And really, other than losing, right, a couple linemen, and they lost Von Miller,
yeah.
but the team is pretty much intact, right? The
Right.
superstars are still there. And if they're still healthy, it's going to be really hard to bet against this team. Now, we're hearing rumors of a Stafford elbow injury, but if you follow Matt Stafford's career, right, I mean, he's been banged up since like his second year in the league, right? I mean, the guy's been perpetually banged up, and he plays through it. So I'll tell you what, me personally, I'm not going to downgrade him until I actually see it. I'm not downgrading him off of camp rumors or stuff coming out, because he's shown he's been able to play through this. 10.5 seems low to me. I mean, are we just assuming that they can't stay healthy another year? I mean, why is this 10.5 here? What do you think?
Well, they do have a tough schedule. When you go through the schedule, like, this is not I think them and the Cardinals, when you look at this division, both of them real tough schedules. Starts out tough. Week 1, you play Buffalo. Of course, that's a home game. It's the first game of the year. That's going to be an awesome game. In my mind, probably the two most well-rounded teams in the league, right? Offensively and defensively. Mm-hmm. We won't talk about the special teams. My goodness, Buffalo, get yourself a new punter. But holy moly. It's a tough schedule. You start looking at these stretches here, after they play Buffalo, they got, an easy one against Atlanta. Then you got Arizona, San Francisco, Dallas. You get, maybe a breather in Carolina. Then it's back to the Niners, at Tampa Bay, division game against Arizona, at New Orleans, at Kansas City. So a lot of at Green Bay, Denver, at the Chargers, who I think the Chargers are going to be really good this year. So there's a lot of tough games. I have them at 11-6. I think that makes a ton of sense. You talked about, they lost a couple offensive linemen. Of course, Whitworth, they're going to have Note Boom over there. They did lose Darius Williams in the secondary, but I like that they brought Troy Hill back. If you remember, a couple years ago, Troy Hill was really good in that system, playing alongside Jalen Ramsey. One of those sneaky guys who was really good at stopping opposing wide receivers. When we talk about the DFS angle on things, I think it was something like 0.18 fantasy points per route ran against, which would be somewhere in the top 15. I love the addition of Bobby Wagner. I don't think there's been a lot of talk about that. Bobby Wagner, this is going to be a motivated guy playing for another contending team. This guy can cover. He can tackle. He's going to be a leader on the defensive end. That gives him another superstar. Gives him a superstar at every level of their defense right now. And what I like about the Rams, they're getting a better division number. So I don't like to lock my money up for 6 months unless it's, something we're sinking your teeth into. But I mean, if you look at the Packers, minus 225 favorites, right? The Bills, minus 200 favorites. The Rams, you're getting at plus 130 for the division. And I don't, when you look at all of the division favorites, the Rams certainly stand out, and you're getting a plus number by them. So I think there's some value there, but they should get to 11 wins. That is a tough schedule. The Matthew Stafford thing, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've watched this guy with the separated right shoulder throw a 2-point conversion with his left hand. He's a tough dude. I'm not all that concerned about his elbow. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner, I left him out. But, hey, I also think that he's going to, get the same benefit that Von Miller did. Yeah, he's not the same player he was in his prime, but he's not being asked to do what he does in his prime, right? He's not going to be the focus of the defense. So much. I mean, I think I could scheme up some of these defensive calls here for the Los Angeles Rams, because Aaron Donald takes up 3 dudes. You know how much easier it makes you to design a pass rush?
How terrifying would that be if you're a Bengal yesterday? That monster with a helmet in each hand. Holy moly. Aaron Donald's a beast. And you're right. It makes things exponentially easier. And it's not as if Bobby Wagner's been playing bad or showing huge signs of slowing down. It's just, Seattle they're rebuilding. They had all those great years, and they tied up a ton of money. And I think Bobby Wagner's got a year or two left in him. When I go back and watch the tape of him playing before, he still looks like he can cover like there's no tomorrow. And that's huge in today's league. It's a passing league. Right. If you have a guy that can cover these tight ends, especially in this division, with George Kittle, et cetera, I like Bobby Wagner quite a bit going to the Rams. And I think if you take the Rams to win the NFC seems pretty wide open to me this year. It's not like in years past where we could see all these dominant teams in the NFC. It's a little bit more watered down. We're not sure what we're going to get out of Tampa Bay. It's another year. When will Brady fall off the cliff? It's got to happen eventually, sometime. I don't know if it's going to be when he's 55 or 65 or 85. I don't know. But the NFC seems pretty wide open to me. So even though they're the favorite still at that price, you're getting a really good team that's probably being undervalued because, we'll talk about it. I think my 49ers are probably being a little overvalued, which is driving the price for the Rams. So if you're a Rams backer, that's a good thing. I think plus 130 for the division is one of the better values you're going to get this year in terms of a division winner.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. And you talked about in the NFC, there's questions around all these teams. Not only are there questions around Brady. I thought that Antonio Brown meant a lot. And he's just open all the time, right? And regardless of what he was doing in the locker room, if you just looked at the tape, he was still a top 10 receiver. They're losing all those offensive linemen over there. They're not going to start with all the guys. And then, of course, the weird things where he's leaving training camp. And I don't want to make too much into that. But for a guy that's like, that guy's addicted to football, right? I mean, it does say that, hey, maybe things are changing. Maybe there's some outside pressure, and I've heard a lot of things. Was it the wife? Is it the kids? But it's a long time to be at the top of the mountain. It'll be interesting there. And then, of course, Green Bay losing their top receiver. We're going to see how that works out. It's worked out for some other teams, but we'll see there with Aaron Rodgers.
That's a bad group. That receiver group for the Packers is bad. I mean, that's garbage, right? That's pure adulterated garbage. And let me just say, if I'm married to Giselle, I'm doing whatever the hell she tells me to do. She wants me to come home for a couple of weeks and miss camp. You got it, Giselle Bündchen. First of all, she makes more money than Tom Brady. Yeah. She's a smoke show, right? I mean, she's the smokiest of the smoke show. So you go home for a couple of weeks if Giselle wants you to, right?
Yeah, maybe that's she's like, this is the only guy that won't do exactly what I say, so that's why she likes him. I mean, that's right. The only man women do like that would go play football instead of hang out with me.
They have the old saying, treat them mean, keep them keen. That's what they say. I'm just saying, I've heard that. I'm not saying you should do that. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. So, and I was hoping to get Tyler on. He's messaged me. He's going to be on real soon, so we might just double back to this team. Okay. Because I know he's going to have some props, but was there any season-long props you were looking? Obviously, Cooper Kupp's coming off that excellent season, but it's priced that way. I don't think there's any value there. You can take him in your fantasy league and have a lot of fun, but I'm not looking for any season-long props. Who's a player that I absolutely love for fantasy, especially if I can't get, the Jeffersons and the Jamar Chases and the Devontae Adams up front because of where I'm drafting? I think Allen Robinson's going to have a huge year.
Yeah, I love it. And Beckham's going to be out for a while. That's such a good signing. Doesn't it seem like he fits perfect with what they want to do on offense? Once Beckham comes back to sort of filling that Robert Woods role, but Allen Robinson just gets open, makes catches. I like his over catches prop. I also think too, I went back and forth on this. Cam Akers, 1,050 total yards. Mm-hmm. I like Cam Akers. I know he wasn't great coming back right away last year, but Cam Akers, if you remember the year before, was unbelievable in the playoffs, had a full year to recover. I think the over 1,050 all-purpose yards for Cam Akers makes a ton of sense. You're going to see that running game be a lot.
That's all-purpose, not just rushing.
Yes, yeah, that's rushing huge. And receiving.
That's huge because there's going to be games. There's going to be games where he has more receiving yards than rushing yards.
Exactly.
Depending on how the defense is playing them.
Exactly. Yeah, I like the Cam Akers props, and that's about it. What I did with the Rams in terms of player props. I sort of do the player props on a weekly basis and kind of pile my money up that way. The season-long ones, especially for running backs, I mean, it's just you're just one injury away from your money being dead before you even got started.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason I like to do these season-long ones because I'm with you. It's kind of hard to tie things up, but I think that maybe that gives the viewers some nuggets when they are doing these ones. So maybe week 2, Cam Akers only 70 all-purpose yards, right? Oh, okay, let me go over here, right? Because he's a guy that I now have on my radar. And with Allen Robinson, he's a guy that I think you should have on your radar too, because it almost feels like the same thing. The NFC North reclamation project for a really talented guy who was slogging along in the NFC North, gets to come down to LA. The weather's beautiful. It's way more perfect for passing. And it's just going to be a great situation for him. And the other thing,
I'm getting him late on mock drafts when I'm doing season long. I think I got him the last time in the 9th round.
That's unbelievable. I was like targeting him in the 3rd or 4th. So that's absolutely crazy to me. So and we have him here, the man, Tyler. We talked about the Rams a little longer than I expected, but it's because it's the first team that we went for. Their win total is 10.5, and we were also talking about season long props. People have a pretty good idea of where this team is, so we don't need the recap there. Talk to me about the bets you're looking for this team. And basically your overall expectations. Kyle and I both leave over the 10.5. Are you with us?
Yeah, I mean, I lean over the 10.5. I think it all comes down to Stafford's elbow, because if he's going to stay healthy, I mean, the NFC is about as weak as it gets this year, and they're at the top of it. They could rack off 14 to 15 wins in this easy conference, and their schedule is not all that hard either. They got a couple tests, but they get past Buffalo in week 1. Atlanta, Arizona, San Francisco, Dallas, Carolina to the bye. I mean, they could win out there. And then after the bye, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Arizona, the Saints, KC, Seattle, Vegas, Green Bay, Denver, Chargers, Seattle. Now that Vegas, Green Bay, Denver, Chargers 4 weeks is probably their toughest little test, but I think they'll already have about 12 wins before they even get to that. So I think they're in a nice spot.
Oh, wow. So Tyler's really high on the Rams here.
Love it.
Yeah, and we had talked about some season-long props here. I said that Cup's going to be great for your fantasy league, but maybe not bet him because the numbers are so high. I liked Allen Robinson. Kyle liked Cam Akers for all-purpose yards. What did you look at? Because I know that you're real good at finding these props, and maybe you even have another first loss or another crazy long shot we can take for this team.
The only other thing I was looking at really was just them to win the NFC. Like, I didn't get really crazy with them. Like, I'd put that 70-1 ticket in my pocket for KC to beat them in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, outside of that, I'm not getting really crazy with this team.
Okay, that works for us. Kyle, anything more on the Rams before we move on to your favorite team?
No. Let's get back past the McVays and let's get to. I mean, the Niners are going to be tough this year. They're a tough team to figure out. I have the Niners anywhere from 7 to 10 wins. They if Trey Lance, you might have a nice start, right? There's not a lot of tape on Trey Lance. He's athletic. He's going to fit well in the Kyle Shanahan run scheme, etc. But once they start getting tape on him, how is he going to respond? The Niners schedule a little bit easier than the Cardinals and the Rams in the division. They just have some lighter out of division games. But I mean, they got this juiced over 9.5 to -140. The sports books really are confident in Trey Lance, and they're underestimating the fact that this 49ers defense, they have a good front seven. They have an okay secondary, but there's not a lot of depth there. They're one injury away up front, one injury away in the defensive backfield from being one of the worst defenses in the league. They're one Joey Bosa injury away from not being very good. It hurts me to say that. Glad they brought back Deebo Samuel. They have Brandon Ayuk, good young tandem. But is Trey Lance going to be a competent enough passer to get Kittle, to get Deebo Samuel, to get Brandon Ayuk involved? I think there's a lot of question marks for the 49ers. I almost, just to sort of, in case it goes wrong, took the under 9.5 at +110. Just so, at least if my favorite team's losing and I'm miserable on Sundays, maybe I'll make a little bit of money on it. But, I mean, shit, I'm nervous about the Niners this year. I really am.
Yeah, and so my question off what you would say is, are these bettors that are steaming this up, do they believe in Trey Lance or do they just believe in Kyle Shanahan?
It's
and the idea that we could throw anybody in here, right? And so I'm kind of interested how this turns out. Now, this is a running theme between Tyler and our guy Titletown last year, right? Because I love well, I mean, I don't know if I love him, but I thought that Jimmy Garoppolo really was getting a bad rap because in sports, for my whole life, it was just like, well, if you just win, it doesn't matter, right? Just win, right? Winning's the best deodorant. I can't remember who said that, John Madden or someone fun, right? He's the only guy that just wins all the time and doesn't get any credit for it. So I can understand, right? Because when he dropped that interception, oh wait, that wasn't him, but yet we still blamed him for losing that game, right? In the NFC Championship game. So I'm really wondering if this whole quarterback situation is going to be like a guy, he's been married for a little while, maybe a young woman in the office, and he thinks, oh, this is going to be better than my wife, right? My wife that takes care of me, right? Everything's going right, this and that, right? And maybe he leaves her for the new wife and finds out, hey, she's kind of crazy. Kind of got to worry where she's at Saturday night. Doesn't go down on me as often, right? Maybe things aren't as happy as they seem here, and we'll see. Because I could be completely wrong. Like you said, this is a team that it could be so widely variant, and I think he's going to have great weeks. Right, I think there's going to be weeks that he throws for 300, rushes for over 100, and looks absolutely fantastic. But I won't be surprised how many of those follow up where he's not looking good at all. And I'm really surprised that this team. This is like, I'm trying to think of times in my life where a team that's pretty much set up to win now, right? Bosa's in his prime, Samuel's in his prime. Trent Williams is getting towards the end.
Yeah.
You're bringing in a project. Why are you bringing in a project? Like, why aren't we bringing in a win now QB, a guy that we already know about? For them to give up that much draft capital, I would have thought they would have got something better out of it. So I'm really surprised.
Deshaun Watson for that. You can blame Deshaun Watson for that. I guess I can. That package was designed to go to the Texans and bring in Deshaun Watson. Next thing you know, Deshaun Watson's dry humping the air and groping massage therapists from all over the country, being one of the biggest weirdos you'll ever see. Like,
it's just weird. Yeah, that's what I said too. It's just weird.
Like, look, okay, I've gone to plenty of those massage parlors that are blacked out in the front. And maybe you have a good time in there, maybe you don't. You give them an extra tip, or you don't. But I can't recall doing the weird things he was doing, and I don't want to get too, but dude's a weirdo, and that's what all that capital was for. So then, look, Kyle Shanahan, look for how talented he is and how good of a play caller. His game plans are second to none. That's why the Rams struggle against him. He's just had Sean McVay's number over the years because he's such a great game planner. I think the ego of him and John Lynch said, you know what, let's take this kid with all this talent and let's see what we can do. Now, look, it might work out. It might not. I'm down on Jimmy G. I cannot stand watching Jimmy Garoppolo drop back and look like a scared little 3-year-old, like an ambulance is coming towards him, and just fall to the ground. He's the biggest coward in the pocket I've ever seen. I can't stand the guy. Yes, he did win. It was in spite of him, not because of him. Absolutely. It's a lot like those Trent Dilfer Ravens of a year or two that they didn't win the Super Bowl.
That's a good throwback. We could throw a little Brad Johnson in there too, right?
Yeah, Brad Johnson, absolutely. Kerry Collins on that Giants team. Of course, they didn't win it, but so I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun to watch. Do I think it's going to work out this first season where we're just taking the NFL by storm? Sure, I'd love to see that. I think you probably see one of my friends gave me this comparison. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think you're going to see a system that looks a lot like what Papa Shanahan did with RG3 in his rookie year. I think you see a lot of that with Trey Lance this year. So I would temper my expectations, and there's not a lot of depth on this roster. There's a lot of front-end talent, but not a lot of real good depth. And we know the 49ers have a history of being notoriously injured. I think 2 years ago they set the record for the most money ever on injured reserve. So for me, I'm not really betting anything on the Niners. I did take a Deebo Samuel over 300 yards rushing prop for the season. I got plus 165.
Only 300?
300, or I think it's
he can have that by like week 6.
That's what I mean. And Elijah Mitchell thing so I like the Deebo Samuel. Well, it's a wide receiver. When do you see a wide receiver with 300-yard rushing prop?
But what did he have last year?
I can't remember.
Twice that amount.
Oh,
yeah. He signed some clause in that contract that says where, like, if he runs the ball, he automatically gets paid like so much extra money.
Yeah. Well, that's what he wants. I mean, so he's that was part of the whole deal. He wanted to be traded because, like, look, you're going to run my body down, making me a running back and a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Well, quite frankly, we need him to do that this year. We'll see if Elijah Mitchell is healthy to start the year. I liked him. Good rookie last year. Trey Sermon's a bust. Get that bum out of there. It looks like Jeff Wilson Jr. again. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Will be the number 2 running back here. But the Niners, look, I love the Niners. I'll be rooting for the Niners, but I don't know that I will, and especially with their game plan, I'm going to be a lot of team total unders for them and against them. I don't think they're going to be. You're not going to see a lot of big explosive plays. They're going to try to make things simple for Trey Lance, get him easy completions. RG3 Washington makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, I like that comparison there. A couple things to point out. They also lost the center of their line. They lost a center and a guard. That can't help with a young quarterback. Alex Mack was an excellent center. So that's another issue that they're going to have to deal with.
Tomlinson was a really good guard, too, that they lost.
Yeah, Tomlinson was the other guy's name. Yeah. So, we're going to see with this team. Right now, I'm down on it. But I'll tell you what, Tyler. I'm ready to eat my words. I'm ready for you and Title to just get on me every Monday morning if they win and Trey Lance has a big game, right? Is the top scorer and, Title's shipping DFS contests because he put him in the captain spot or things like that. So I lean towards the under. I don't love it as a bet, especially since you have to keep your money up. And like I said, I could see plenty of scenarios where I'm wrong. If he's just competent, right? I mean, this team goes over. So we've also heard conflicting reports out of camp, how good he really is. But when we saw the preseason game, I didn't think he looked that bad. He did miss a couple throws, but that's to be expected with the young quarterback. And that's why I just said it's weird to have a team in win-now mode where you're going to have to go through these growing pains. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers and their win total of 9.5?
Yeah, man, I think he broke it down pretty well on the team. I'm not going to bet the win total, but the way I see it is if this team does go the route where Lance still needs work, he's not as good as people think he is, why not just bet him to miss the playoffs at 2-1? Mm-hmm. Because if he does start to teeter off and they don't get those 9 wins, Arizona probably jumps in the division, and they probably steal one of those wild card spots where San Fran probably would slide in. So that's the way I'm going to bet that. And then the other one I was looking at, what do we see a lot of these young quarterbacks do when they get into a pocket and it starts to fall apart? They instantly tuck it and run. I think Lance is going to be the heaviest runner of all those guys that we've seen over the last few years. His rushing yards at 500.5. I'll bet the over on that. I think there's a good chance he closes in at like 750 to 1,000.
What do you guys think about this? So if the Niners, let's say they do go over this win total and get to 10 wins, make the playoffs and make a push, that means Trey Lance is going to have to.
He's probably going to be in the MVP picture.
So have you seen the odds for him for MVP? It's outrageous. But if you just want to throw $10 on something that'll make you like $2,000, $3,000 for a little silly bet, if they do excel this win total, Trey Lance it'll be a huge story every single week. You know that the NFL loves new young quarterbacks who play well. Mm-hmm. He will absolutely be in the MVP conversation if he's able to sort of outperform what I think he will, and probably all of us think he will. But if he's able to do it, it could be an interesting long shot that you make a few bucks on.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the few teams, right, that it seems like a lot of these teams are going to be really close to their win total. Mm-hmm. And it felt like, you're just gambling, right? Because it's going to come down to a weird field goal, weird pass interference call. That's going to be the difference between 8 and 9 wins, and their total's at 8.5. This team really feels like it could go pretty high over or pretty high under. We talked about this. NFC isn't that good.
No.
If he ends up being, better than average and being a good runner, and Shanahan schemes combined to his, supposedly he's a smart kid that picks things up quickly.
Right.
They can win 13 games and be the number 1 seed. If he's not that good, this is a quarterback league now. I don't care who you got, because let's be honest, Shanahan's a great schemer, right? He wasn't winning with Sudfield and Mullins and all that, right, when Jimmy G was out. So, interesting. And they haven't traded him yet. I mean, is my guy ever going to get a chance? I mean, what's
I don't know if
going on?
Well, why not just lie? Like, why does everyone have to be so damn honest? Just lie. Don't tell everyone you got shoulder surgery. Just get traded, get the hell out of here, and then reveal it. But I mean, he just destroyed. It's like if you think back to the Drew Brees, Dante Culpepper situation years and years ago, before he went to the Saints, when he was still with the Chargers. Had a good year, then had that bad shoulder injury. No one wanted Drew Brees. They all wanted Dante Culpepper.
Exactly.
Then obviously the rest is history, right? And it ended up working out well. But teams tend to shy away from quarterbacks with shoulder issues, right? So.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I mean, you were frustrated with him as a 49ers fan, and maybe, it's like the idea for the Jets, right? I would say Jimmy G's an upgrade for this year.
Yeah.
But there's no potential, right? I mean, Zach Wilson could eventually maybe be a top 10 quarterback. I mean, he's got the skills. So half of the people that he would be starting over, the teams are thinking, well, but this guy might end up being better in 2 to 3 years. And unlike the Niners, right?
Don't you think it's also like the potential where like they just watched Jimmy G throw this ball about 4 yards down the field for 3 years in a row? Now they're going to bring in this kid who can literally take the offense and stretch it about 60 yards down the field. Yeah. Because now you could send the receivers deep. This kid's got a cannon arm.
It should help your run game if they have to.
If you stretch the field, now the run game's even better. So I think that's the whole look on this. They're like, if this kid could just hit a couple deep balls, opens up the run game, he could run also. Like, it could change their offense big time if he's hitting deep throws.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's really just got to avoid turnovers. The incompletions aren't going to kill the team as much as the turnovers could kill this team. So this is going to be a fun team to watch. And I thought you were going to be more I thought we were going to have a little more debate here, but you sound like you
Is there any chance that we see Lance start the year and by the end of it we see Jimmy G finish it out for him?
Only injury. Injury is the only way.
If that happens, I'm going to have to double up my blood pressure pills because that's going to piss me off. I have to watch more.
Well, if Trey Lance breaks his leg, right? I mean, it's okay, right? You're not going to be upset. I
mean, that's a different story. I'm talking fully healthy. He's just playing bad. Do they switch him back?
I
guess if they were like 0-6, it just doesn't seem plausible.
That'd be crazy. I would assume he gets traded. Now, unfortunately, no one is.
I think they're waiting for someone to get hurt, right?
Yeah, and no one's playing their starter, so who the hell's going to get hurt? No one's going to get hurt because no one's playing.
I think he's got to wait for those roster cuts too, because you got a lot of backup QBs. Like for instance, they said Mason Rudolph isn't going to last in Pittsburgh. He's probably getting traded. Would you rather trade for
Mason Rudolph?
But here's the thing, Spread. Would you rather trade for $2 million Mason Rudolph or $21 million Jimmy G to be your backup quarterback?
For backup, you're absolutely right. But I'm just saying, like, what if Kirk Cousins
find me a starting job he gets right now?
Who?
Outside of the Jets, Jimmy G.
Seattle.
Oh, Seattle.
But the Seattle want to win. They kind of want to bottom out and take one of those guys next year.
And I don't think the Niners should trade him in division.
Yeah, that's the other reason.
Why not? Like, hey, we know how to defend Jimmy Garoppolo. Put 7 guys 4 yards down the field and stand there and wait. That's it. That's all you have to do.
And DK can't run a slant, so he's useless at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. I mean,
Houston, you can argue.
Houston, you could argue.
Atlanta, you could argue.
You could argue Atlanta.
I wouldn't want him in that Atlanta offense. That offensive line's so bad. Like, at least Mariota got some legs on him and could run away from guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think he would have been a nice fit with the Colts. I don't know why the Colts wanted washed up noodle arm Matt Ryan. I would be higher on the Colts if they had Garoppolo than Matt Ryan.
I would actually agree with that too. Just for Brady and Rodgers got everyone twisted. You're not supposed to be playing quarterback past 35 years old, right?
I'm gonna give Matt Ryan a little more string there because you give him an offensive line like the Colts, like he might just stand back there and just throw dimes.
Yeah, but his arm.
He might.
He reminds me of those quarterbacks in Tecmo Bowl, old school. You're probably too young to remember that, Tyler. You know, as far as old time gray in the beard showing through and stuff. But when you had those shitty quarterbacks like Jay Schrader and Tecmo Bowl, when you drop back, you used to be able to run back and throw the ball the entire field and get a touchdown. Well, the real crappy ones, the ball would if you remember, spread float out of the screen and you would see it for about 7 seconds, and then it would drop back down like a bomb from the sky. That's Matt Ryan.
Yeah. Here's a question, although I think I'm going to know your guys' answer. Richie Small says the Saints, Jameis or Jimmy G. Do you think
Winston?
Yeah, I'd take Jameis.
I don't know. In that Saints office, I think Jimmy G might be perfect. You talked about the slants.
Yeah, I'm not going to be high. I'm not very high on Winston, but Winston at least throws the ball down the field. Might be to the other team a lot, but he's going to take those shots for you.
Yeah, it's good. You're going to have more fun with Jameis at quarterback, I'll tell you that. He's not going to look I just can't stand how scared he is in the pocket. It's hard for me to watch. He's like a plumber who's allergic to water. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's obviously not scared of STDs, though, right? We saw some of those pictures running around of his offseason. I don't know how much that affected him. Yeah. But, boy, yeah, that's why I think he'd be real popular with his teammates, right? Is that going to cause any issues if he's there and Trey Lance starts slow? Do you think there's any people that want him, or do you think the team's done with him too?
I think the only thing that could cause the team pressure is they go out there and they say start the year 5-1, 6-1. They're looking good, but they're not winning these games because of him. Like, he's having terrible performances, and the defense and the run game are dragging him out in the end. And they're looking at it like, we might have Super Bowl chance this year, but not with him. They might just be like, we got to pull the plug and get him back in there for one last run.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I was thinking the opposite. If they start 1-5, right? Because I'll tell you what, I live in Northern California. The expectations here are through the roof for this team, and I think the fans are kind of split. For Jimmy G's national thing, there's a lot of people that seem pretty loyal to him. That are like, I'm not
doesn't
sure
Jimmy G seem like a guy? He doesn't care if he's the backup. He's this handsome dude, hooks up with porn stars. He's going to make $20 million. No one's going to be yelling at him. No one's going to be hitting him. He doesn't like getting hit. Yeah, I mean, hey, sign me up.
There's worse jobs to have than backup quarterback in the NFL.
If I'm banging porn stars making $20 million standing on the sideline at every NFL game, sign me up.
Yeah,
yeah.
And you get to stay in San Francisco and not end up in like Detroit. So I just take my backup job and stay right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, although to be fair, in San Francisco, $20 million gets you like a 2-bedroom apartment. So
correct.
And that doesn't even get you started on trying to park your car. But all right, well that's cool. Yeah, I thought that you were going to be real pro Niners because I know you're a fan, and there's some fans to me that around here that just we're going to Super Bowl for sure, and I'm crazy for even having questions about Trey Lance, but you seem to have some of the same concerns that I do.
I mean, this is a kid who's thrown like 400 total passes in college and in the pros. Like, this is a big man's game. The speed of the NFL. And
it's not like he came from the SEC where he was playing against NFL level defenses, right?
Division 2 football. Yeah. Like, you really got to temper your expectations. It's foolish. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than horribly disappointed. I've always lived that way. I'm not going to be
on dating apps.
That's right. It's the title of my sex tape right there. But no, I have my expectations tempered a little bit here. I'm certainly rooting for it, and I know, like in the back of my head, I know. Look, this guy could have this sort of like explosive Kaepernick type season when he took over.
Yeah, he
could. And there's just not a lot of experience, right? So let's see how this goes. It's going to be a real test for Shanahan and all those coaches.
All right, Tyler. Anything more on the Niners before we move on?
I think we pretty much touched on everything. You can't get too real crazy with this team unless you take a stand. And that's also one of the things where, like, you're kind of taking a shot in the dark because nobody really knows what Lance is until we see him play.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Tyler, the quarterback slander continues because we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, one of our favorite guys to run down this season. And hey, guys, I don't want to hear it in October about how wrong I was about Kyler Murray, right? He's got to do it in November and December.
There's a specific
before
date
I'm going
he
to
has
eat
to
my
do it
words
after
there.
spread.
Yeah. There's, we're going to see. And okay, the studying's one thing, and that's it's probably been overblown at this point, but it's definitely got to be a red flag. That's the fact that you'd actually have to put it in there. I was listening to Lombardi's pod, and he says, hey, if you have to tell your best player that he needs to study, is he really your best player, right? Because there's more than what you do on the field, especially at that position. You do have to be a leadership, but let's just throw that aside. I'm still worried about the size and his ability to make it through an NFL season. You look at a guy like, Justin Herbert or even Trey Lance, right? I mean, they were getting mad at me because I said Trey Lance reminded me of Tebow, but I wasn't trying to say that to bring him down. I was just saying he looks like a linebacker playing the position, right? To where a corner is going to be smaller than him while he's tackling him, right? So I don't know. I'm not necessarily high on this team. I was very happy to fade the team when DeAndre Hopkins was out last year. That could make their start a little less. I'm not as high on Hollywood Brown as everyone else. Maybe that's because I missed so many spreads where the Ravens won the game, so it didn't make a big deal, but I would have covered if Hollywood Brown didn't drop the wide open pass. They lost Christian Kirk, which I know Hollywood Brown fills the same role, but we'll see if he does it as efficiently. I thought the defense played pretty well last year. I was pretty down on the defense. I think that they proved that they're going to be pretty good. But, hey, in Las Vegas, we got their best pass rusher, Chandler Jones, now a member of the Raiders, no longer Cardinals. We'll see how that affects them here. So I'm not as high on the Cardinals as the market. They under is actually steam. So actually maybe the market is going with me. Under 8.5 wins, over 8.5 wins plus 100. 8.5 here for the Cardinals. Pretty crazy that they won 11 games last year and this number's at 8.5. So I feel like the market already corrected for everything I said. So I'm not, I'm not betting this under.
Moved. 2 days ago, it was 115 pick 'em. And so that's people
it's
are starting
going down.
Yeah, it's starting to move that direction. And the interesting thing about the Cardinals, and I think this is the first time this has happened ever, me covering football. When you go through, you sort of get ready for these season breakdowns. You're like, okay, let me go just look at the notable additions and losses. Just to refresh my brain, see who they lost, see who they got, maybe some of these secondary players. The Arizona Cardinals, for notable key additions, it literally says none. I mean, Marquise Brown, that's fine, but that was an older one. But after there's just been nothing. You lose DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games. Christian Kirk, I would rather have Christian Kirk than Hollywood Brown. I like Christian Kirk quite a bit.
Yep.
You talked about all the issues with Kyler Murray. This is going to be a team that I bet weekly, and it's going to be team. I love team totals. Team totals when I bet football. I'm going to be betting the overs on their opponent because the Cardinals play fast. I don't really like that defense, that secondary. Who's good in that secondary? I don't know. Buchanan. I take pride in knowing secondaries. I do a wide receiver cornerback cheat sheet every week, and I'm going to be attacking the Cardinals. I think they're going to give up a lot of points. They play fast. Kyler Murray makes a lot of mistakes on third down, so they're going to be giving the ball back to the opposing team a lot. This is a bad offseason. This is about as bad as it gets, and I do think if you can find a wager out there, first coach to be fired, Cliff Kingsbury, you might have some good value there because
I know that the guys like Matt Rule, and those, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but there's a couple others that are way more on the hot seat than him. I actually haven't heard anything about Kingsbury's job being on the line, so that would be a huge surprise.
Well, and just the way he calls the play, the team, there's a lot of Chip Kelly. Right, it just reminds me of Chip Kelly. They try to play too fast, get too cute on offense, nothing on defense. And we've seen it with the Cardinals. The last 2 years, they've been really good early on. And Kyler Murray, if you have him on your fantasy team, you're winning every week. He's putting up huge numbers. He's running all over the place. Everything's awesome. But like you said, you touched on it perfectly. His body doesn't seem to be able to take it. You get to the end of the year, he starts to fall apart a little bit. This entire team falls off, and they're just no threat. Not big on the offense, especially early on. I don't like that they let Chase Edmonds go and didn't really replace him. So now you're leaving the entire running game up to James Conner. Now, I know he sort of had a resurgent year last year after 3 years where he was just the slowest running back you'll ever watch in your life. It's like watching Ironhead Craig Hayward run the ball. But he looked a little better last year. But you're really going to rely on James Conner now just being your main every down back for an entire season. Go ask fans of Pittsburgh how that turns out. Not real big on the offense, not real big on the defense. I would lean the under here. They have a tough schedule when you look at it. That's an early tough. They could be 0-3 to start the year. I mean, right there. So down on the Cardinals this year, real bad offseason. And we'll see if Cliff Kingsbury holds on to that job because I think that little gimmick is starting to run a little bit thin with ownership.
Yeah, I agree with you on James Conner. If you do like a wins above replacement metric,
God.
James Conner's the replacement in my mind, right? He's like literally the most average NFL running back. Like he's not bad. He's going to hit the hole, and if you get the blocking for him, it's going to be a great three or 4 yard pickup, but there's nothing that he really does as special. And Tyler, I know that, we like to debate and go back and forth here, but I have a feeling you're going to be on the same side as us here. Unfortunately, the market is too, because the team won 11 and now they're down to 8.5. So the market agreed that this team isn't going to do as good. And then the final question, because I know you do enjoy playing the video games on the PFF podcast, they speculated the reason it's not his body, it's because Call of Duty comes out in November.
You beat me to my punch, Fred. You took my line.
You
That's
got
where
that
I was
one, yeah.
Okay.
But break it down, Tyler, and let me know. Have you ever played against Kyler Murray on Call of Duty? I know you're on there a lot.
I don't know if I've ever played him, but it's a good chance. Play a lot of it. Yeah, this schedule did them no favors. Just like he said, they're going to be 0-3 out the gate. Kansas City, Vegas, the Rams. Maybe they pick up that Carolina win. I think Philly's going to thromp them in that next game because the pass rushers they have and what they're bringing in. Then they beat Seattle, but then they're going to lose that New Orleans game to that tough defense. And then guess what happens on that Friday before they play Minnesota, Spread?
Call of Duty drops.
Yep. So we'll be on Minnesota in that game Sunday. He ain't watching no film on Minnesota. He's playing strictly Call of Duty that weekend. Yeah, I think they put up just like he said. I think they put up numbers. I think their offense is pretty good, but they just didn't get better anywhere. Like, I like the call on Cliff Kingsbury to get fired first because I think that's a great call with this schedule. Because if they do just bottom out and the only 2 wins they pick up in them first 9 weeks are Carolina and Seattle, I think there's a good chance they do boot him out of the door because they just paid Kyler, so they're not going to trade him. They're going to look at the coach and be like, we need a new guy in here. You're messing this all up. So if you can get a good number on that, definitely like that bet. But yeah, another one I was looking at, it's about even money for them to miss the playoffs. I would just take them to miss the playoffs with this schedule because then they have a back end after the bye week. It goes New England, Denver, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, San Francisco. They might lose 4 of those 5 games. So I don't think they make the playoffs. I love the Kingsbury call and him getting fired. Definitely fading them in that game against Minnesota when Call of Duty comes out.
And chat, we don't want to hear it on the weekly shows if they start out 3-0 and they look great, right? Because that doesn't mean anything to me. They got to do it towards the end of the year for us to really fully believe on this team. Now, is it Call of Duty? Is it the fact that, he's the smallest dude in the history of the NFL?
I got a buddy who's a Cardinals fan, Spread, and I told him last year when they were 6-1, 7-1, I was like, this team's a fraud. And I was told I didn't know football, I'm an idiot, and a couple other things, and then they lost 4 games in a row.
Now, was this on a Call of Duty chat where you were told this?
No, this was in a group chat.
What was my other question for you? Oh, so Tyler, I don't watch as much college football. Kingsbury didn't even win at Texas Tech, did he?
No, he didn't. He had Mahomes and he couldn't win.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just a weird situation.
I've ran that by a few people. That's crazy. Yeah, he's a young college. He's one of the bright stars. I'm like, I don't know, man. People thought that about Chip Kelly too. The only thing separating Kingsbury and Chip Kelly is he's not holding up the stupid little signs on the sideline. I mean,
people thought that about Matt Rule when he turned Baylor around in 1 year. Yeah, now it's look, you're in Carolina now, buddy.
Exactly. The only thing I'm sad about is I can't make fun of Urban Meyer this year. I love making fun of that idiot. So now I'm a little bummed out that I don't have Urban Meyer to make fun of. So Cliff Kingsbury is my new guy.
We might get some good Trevor Lawrence play out of that, though. So
yeah, we might.
Hopefully we do. I really like him. I'm rooting for him down there. in
I
Jacksonville.
heard a weird case for him to win MVP at like 175 to 1 or something.
It's because when someone says 175 to 1, you can't really argue against
that
it.
too. And they were like, well, the division's like technically up for grabs. Jacksonville steals it. Like now he's in the playoffs. Like, do you give it to him after a complete turnaround of a season?
I mean, I guess that's true, right? If it's him and Trey Lance, at least Trey Lance came to a winning team. He came to like one of the worst organizations, in the history of football. So yeah, okay, I can see that. I'm not going to argue against that. Kyle, anything more on the Cardinals before we move on?
No, bad offseason, bad coach. I'm just going to be so happy if Cliff Kingsbury gets fired first. That's all I'm rooting for. I
got to find that number. That's a great bet.
Yeah, that would be so. My one concern. I wonder if him and Kyler are just married though. I wonder if the GM.
Do you think Kyler's married to anyone in this organization after being publicly humiliated when he signed? You signed a new contract, supposed to be the happiest day of your life. You are one of the wealthiest players in NFL history, and then you have to,
which is weird to me because what did he do?
Right, and then you're answering questions about how you're not prepared and you don't work hard enough. That's humiliating, right? And so that would make me pissed off. If my job did that, I'd be pissed off at everyone.
And the funny thing is, like they said, they know these contracts are public record, right? Because of the way the CBA is ruled, especially with the incentives, the league and everyone has to know, and the other agents. So they knew it was going to get out because every agent is going to read that contract. Any agent they knew it was going to get out. I mean, this isn't some oops, right? So they did that on purpose. Yeah, weird things going on in Arizona, and it's never been the best organization, so to speak. So.
And the James Conner take, James Conner sucks.
Oh, I mean, so bad.
He's done this twice in his career now where he's had one good anomaly year, and then Pittsburgh said, Le'Veon Bell, we don't need you anymore. We got James Conner.
Mm-hmm.
He scores all these touchdowns in Arizona last year. They go, oh, Chase Edmonds, we don't need you anymore. Good luck with that this year when he's running for like 1.5 yards a carry.
I am in a keeper league, a keeper fantasy league, and that Le'Veon Bell year, I drafted James Conner in like the 16th round. So the rules are then you get to keep the guy one round before you drafted him. So, of course, every year I'm keeping James Conner because I'm getting him in the 15th round. There's nothing more frustrating than thinking you have a running back that you can play in the 15th round and then getting dog shit James Conner running for 2.4 yards a carry. I mean, I loathe James Conner almost as much as I loathe the Green Bay Packers, and that's saying something. It's painful to watch him run. Last year, it annoyed I refuse. I refuse to give James Conner any credit. I refuse to ever bet him. I refuse to play him in DFS. Cost me a little bit of money last year, but I'm sticking James Conner will stink for Arizona this year. I promise you.
Tyler, how about this? I just got to give credit to Mike Tomlin for another great coaching job, getting some great stats out of an average player.
I don't know if that was all of him or we still had a stable offensive line that let Le'Veon Bell stand behind it for 3 seconds before he decided which hole he was going through. And then James Conner showed up, was like, I'm just going to run through the first open one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, are you guys out in Pittsburgh looking at that offensive line, like that Wolverine photo, the meme where the guys,
looking at it spread, we can't even find it out here.
I mean, yeah, boy, you guys went from having one of the best O-lines.
I've never ever seen a lineman get a PFF grade of 26.2 until I seen Kendrick Green get that grade.
Did the Chargers Storm Sanders guy or whatever that right tackle was?
He's nowhere near.
Low.
The video that went with the 26.2 spread, he was legit. They would snap the ball and they would just run past him, and then he would turn and be like, how'd that guy get there?
They're so bad. Oh my God, they're so bad.
Would he do the thing where he like push the guy after he sacked the quarterback and try and act like
he's like, he jumps on top of him, adds weight to the quarterback. He's like, I got him, coach.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. So, one thing we can't give Tomlin credit for there is developing that offensive line. Let's talk about a team that has also had offensive line issues over the last couple of years. The Seattle Seahawks, so they have John Schneider and Pete Carroll, right? And when they came into the league, one of the things that they did was they developed the deepest roster because Pete Carroll was so familiar with the Pac-12 and with the college football team. They just nailed all their 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks, right? So they're just getting starter caliber guys, 4th round. I mean, I don't remember what like Thomas and Cam Chancellor guys were, but I don't think they were the first 2-day picks. I think they were day 3 picks, and they were able to turn those guys in there. Now that they don't have that advantage, these guys have really been struggling, and this team went from one of the deepest teams to, I'd say, one of the thinnest teams. They have a bad offensive line. The defensive line isn't very good. The secondary's average. They got great wide receivers, and I don't think that's because of Russell Wilson. I think they're going to be great with regardless of whatever. And even if they don't get the stats this year, they're going to be open on the tape. It's going to be the guys not making the throws.
Yeah. Oh, they'll be open. Drew Lock will just be throwing 45 yards out of bounds.
Reminiscent of the great Rex Grossman, right? Get another guy
correct.
just wants to show off his arm
I think
strength.
Rex Grossman might be a little bit better than Drew Lock. That's how bad Drew Lock is.
I guess.
Lock is so bad.
You guys don't think Gino's winning the job?
Oh my God!
I mean, who even knows? I mean, that's just the two bad options. It's just absolutely terrible.
I mean,
you know what those two options pretty much guarantee you spread?
A first-round pick on this
one of three: C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, or Will Levis next year.
That's correct.
But you don't like either of them, Tyler, or do you like the third guy? Who's the third guy you mentioned?
I like Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, when you watch him play, is baby Russell Wilson all over again.
Okay.
And Will Levis, I mean, I'm still on the outside.
Where's he from?
He's in Kentucky.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He's got a nice arm. I got to watch more of him play. But
is this going to be like the other Kentucky quarterback that's a big boy, Jared Lorenzen? Wasn't he like 310 pounds playing quarterback?
No, he's not that big.
R.I.P. by the way, Jared Lorenzen.
I know he's already gone. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
but there's very few teams I hate more than the Seahawks. Just the Packers, Seahawks, two least favorite teams. Russell Wilson, one of the biggest fake frauds in all of sports.
He just took my MVP ticket and just threw it right down the drain.
I'm sorry. Well, it's just him as a person. Okay, he's so fake. I'll never forget a Super Bowl interview when he had the concussion. They said, "How'd you come back?" Oh, it was my Jesus water on the sideline. I wanted to throw a freaking nail.
You know what's funny, Kyle? I've read that he's really like that all the time.
He is
acting. He's just one of the biggest nerds in the history of sports.
Do you know that movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner, right? And they talk about that kid, that the Callahan kid they wanted to draft, and then they ask him, "How come none of your teammates came to your 21st birthday?" Yeah. That's based on a true story. Russell Wilson, because he's such a douchebag. None of his teammates even wanted to go to his 21st birthday either. So I love that he's.
I didn't know that. That's good knowledge.
I love that the Seahawks are going to stink. This team's going to be awful. What do you give them? 2 wins, maybe 3 wins when you look. This team is terrible from top to bottom. Pete Carroll's way too old, the oldest coach in football, which is weird. He is way out of touch with everything that's going on. They're going to be double-digit underdogs almost every week, and it makes me happy. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm old enough to remember when they were in the AFC West and no one gave a shit about this team. Dave Craig and the other Kurt Warner,
Brian Bosworth.
Brian bought the original receiver GOAT, Steve Largent, before Jerry Rice took all his records, right?
The Largent was sweet, yeah.
And it gave us little slow white guys some hope that we could play wide receiver back in the day. Like, hey,
unfortunately, we couldn't, and it hurt.
No, could not. Absolutely should never have been trying that. But now you come around, everyone just loves the Seahawks and this. Oh, shut the hell up. The Seahawks, they're going to stink this year, and they deserve it. Classless organization. I can't wait for them to be a bottom dweller this year in the NFL.
All right, but will they be low enough? So you said 2. I'm seeing this win total
under
here.
5.5.
And you like it, right? You're on it.
Under. Where are the wins? The Jets, maybe week 17, maybe. The Giants, maybe, probably not.
Don't they always do well against the 49ers?
Yeah, but not with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. It's a little bit different when you have Russell Wilson, Matt Hasselbeck. Drew Lock is so bad. I can't even compute it into words. Last year, the name that I had for him was Jesus Christ Drew Lock. I would take a Broncos team total 16.5. Melvin Ingram and Williams get him up and down the field. All you need to do is make one throw. And it's just so far off, so terrible. And they had talented receivers, KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. It's not like
team. And then Noah Fant. Yeah.
They had plenty of talent there, and he just couldn't get him the ball. He's god awful. Geno Smith, not any better. The only thing Geno Smith will ever be known for is getting knocked out by his teammate back in New York. That's it.
I forgot about that.
Remember, he was going to be the starter. Got his job.
You're bringing all this good knowledge on the show. I love it.
And that's all Geno Smith should ever be known for. That's the worst quarterback room you're ever going to see. Seattle, even Detroit, week 4 at Detroit, I like the Lions way better than I like the Seahawks. Way better.
Yeah,
Atlanta,
I can argue that.
I like Mariota exponentially better than either of these quarterbacks. Where are the wins coming from for the Seahawks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a good answer. Do you, Tyler?
I don't, but other than that 5.5, the other bet I found, DraftKings has a special division wins. So they got to play Rams twice, San Fran twice, Arizona twice. Under 2 at -115, because I think they lose all 6 games. Maybe they sneak one out of Arizona, but they're not beating San Fran or the Rams. So I'm taking that under 2 for sure. I just don't want to get caught up in that 5.5 if they get them couple teams late in the year that are like, we're good, playoff seeding set, we're sitting, guys.
And you're not worried about the home field advantage there?
No. You know what? That 12th man, let's see how much the 12th man loves the Seahawks when they're getting beat 38-0 every week. We'll see how loyal that fan base is. My sister lives there. They're season ticket holders. I bet you she doesn't make every game either because that team is going to suck.
Pete Carroll going to be here next year?
No.
It's probably all right, dude. Pete Carroll's one of my favorite dudes. I don't hate the
line
like
on Kingsbury to be the first coach fired. Those odds are nice enough on Pete Carroll. I'm betting him too.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I seen a video of him playing quarterback in practice the other day, Spread. That's how much out of touch he's out of it.
Okay, here's what I have to say about Pete Carroll. First of all, I admire him because I hope that I look like that and act like that in my 70s. I'm trying to be a cool dude like that in my 70s. And I loved him in the past 10 years, but I just think it's too old. I mean, even with our presidents this year, it's like, aren't these guys a little too old to be doing this, right? I mean, I don't mind you taking their input, but they shouldn't be the head guys.
No, these 80-year-old guys need to go retire, do some fishing. Like you should not be running countries. Okay, it's ridiculous. It's not even fair. You can't come on. We're picking on old guys now every day in the news. Shouldn't be running football teams. And in baseball, why do we have 80-year-old Tony La Russa dressing up like it's damn Halloween in a baseball costume?
Yep, and it's one of the oldest guys. Yeah, this is like the group chat usually where they're roasting me, but now I get to turn around and do it to someone else here. So real low on Seattle here, the whole group, and I think it's really tough. I'm trying to sit here and play devil's advocate and think of reasons why the Seattle team's going to be good, but other than teams overlooking them and the fact that it's as much as that crowd is too, I think it's a tough travel. I mean, New Orleans to Seattle sucks. Jacksonville, right? So
traveling to Seattle sucks. Lots of delays, always rain and problems.
Yeah,
I've been delayed at that Seattle airport more than any place in San Francisco, Seattle, both those airports. Yeah. I can't even say what I want to say about those places.
Yeah.
Well, I really can't.
All right, well, we won't do that then. But yeah, pretty low in Seattle, and it seems like we expect a new regime there. Probably Schneider on his way out as well. And hey, maybe that's what that team needs, right? All good things must come to an end, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't mind Pete going up there and just being an advisor. Like he can go up and talk to the new coach. Hey, coach, these guys aren't playing hard. How did you get them to play hard every week, even though they didn't have as much talent? And let Pete give them some advice. But it's just really rough.
What if I told you this team was 5th in odds to have the fewest wins in the NFL?
I think they should be 2nd or 1st. I mean, who's worse than them? Houston, maybe?
Houston's
the
Jets.
1. The Jets are 4.
Jacksonville's
behind them.
Yeah, Jacksonville should be ahead of them. Atlanta's below them.
Atlanta's 2nd. You're missing one, Spread. We all know who it is. We talked about them a couple weeks ago.
Oh, the Giants.
Nope.
Really?
What about the Cleveland Browns?
Nope.
Where are they?
You had the first letter right.
Oh, geez, who is it?
Let's see. It's not the Panthers.
Which quarterbacks do I think?
The Chicago Bears. The Chicago.
Oh yeah, how we do Chicago? They're not so far out of our mind because we just
they stink so bad.
I was thinking that was one of our flaws when we go through the schedule. We make the Bears and the Jets and the Texans like 0-17. Like we have every team beating them, and they're going to beat somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to beat somebody. They're not going to lose every game. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad there. So that pretty much wraps it up for the AFC West. Tyler, was there any bets that we kind of glossed over or that you placed that we didn't give out yet?
No, I think we touched on everything. That Seattle under 2 division wins at -115. The Lance over 500 rushing yards. I put the ticket in my pocket of Kansas City to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl at 70-1. Just have a weird feeling we get that matchup this year. I mean, other than that, really didn't bet much in this division. Just going to let this one play out and see how it works out.
Yeah, I think because of all the uncertainty around the 49ers, it makes it hard.
It
But the
does.
one that I would try for that I kind of like is exact order. Give me Rams, Niners, Cardinals, Seahawks. I think that's a pretty fun one. Do you have that one up, Tyler?
I can get it for you in 1 second.
Yeah, I think
All
that
right.
makes a ton of sense.
And Kyle, I
And
know
even
you
the
don't bet
Rams,
a lot, but if you could go over kind of the ones that you've already placed this year for the bets for the AFC or NFC West.
I did a sprinkle on the Rams to win the division at plus 130 because I don't mind that number.
Mm-hmm.
I did Debo over. I believe I got him at 300 and
That's so good. Yeah.
Plus, I want to say it was. I did this a few weeks ago. I want to say it was at plus 165.
That's unbelievable.
And I'm probably gonna. I like that Seahawks under division wins. Seahawks under 5. There's no way in hell they're getting to 6 wins. I don't care if Jesus Christ himself comes down and is throwing the football for them. It ain't happening.
Oh, I bet on Jesus.
You bet on Jesus. See, I don't know. I don't know. That's a topic for another show, but
yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Can you imagine that? How'd you guys get kicked off YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, maybe if Jesus is coming in, because he's got some he could probably turn the other Gatorade into wine, get the other team drunk.
That's a great point. Yeah,
there's a lot of ways he could sort that out and help your team win. So
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for having us on. If you want to just throw out a general prediction, like who do you think wins the NFC and the AFC? If you're
I mean, I don't want to be too chalky, but I like the Rams in the NFC, and you know what? Don't sleep on the Chargers in the AFC. I like that roster. I know everyone's high on the Bills, but I really like the Chargers. You see that progression from Herbert. If Brandon Staley can stop being a weirdo and stop going for it on like 4th and 8 from the 13-yard line, then the Chargers should be pretty good.
I mean, doesn't Brandon Staley seem like a guy that could benefit from having Pete Carroll to have a phone call with a couple times a week?
Sure.
I mean, he's someone I think he could help a lot. So, Kyle, this was so much fun, man. We're gonna have to do it again. I'm gonna try and bring you on during the season, but you want to let everyone know all the great content you're doing and where they can find you?
Oh, yeah. You can find me at BTV Bets. We do a ton of stuff there. We're going to be doing a ton of promotional stuff. We'll be out in New York with Papelbon next week, doing live shows from Legend Sports Bar, all that good stuff. And, of course, daily clips every day. Myself and Spread, BMR at Bookmakers Review, do a ton of stuff over there as well. We're going to be adding DFS to BTV this year. We do some comedy shows. We do all sorts of stuff. So make sure to check it out over at Better Than Vegas.
Yeah, and it's not just betting content on there. There's all types of stuff, and I actually have to go back and find a clip that I didn't know existed. So yeah,
you do.
that one sounds like a lot of fun. So we appreciate that, Tyler. We timed this wrong. Like we have an extra week, so we're gonna have to figure out. I'm thinking maybe we'll do some AFC and some NFC next week, and then be back on.
We'll do our we'll just do all like the Super Bowl breakdowns, like all our Super Bowl picks, all our conference picks, the awards, all that.
So maybe we'll be back once next week, but we're going to figure out, make sure it's just good content for you and not just us saying the same stuff that you've already heard on the earlier episodes. But we have a lot of great content coming on runpuresports.com. It's going to be more than just picks this season. We're going to have detailed breakdowns of each game, and we'll give you more details as that continues to emerge and work itself out. So, if you're not a member, go and check out. The promo code is NFL15. Make sure you get the bets package as well. It gives you access to all the best DFS content and sports gambling content on the internet. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks again, Kyle, for joining us. Tyler, I will talk to you soon.